All right, Benzino, what's good with you, bro?
Panda Chop, man. Man, listen, this is big, man. I'm ready.
Yo, man, shout out to Cam for setting this up for
For
us,
sure.
man.
Shout out to Cam Capone, yo.
Yeah, let's
And
get
shout out to the
into it,
studio,
man.
too. Shout out to the guys in the studio.
Shout out to the studio, man.
Hell yeah.
But let's get into it.
Yep.
Recently, you called out Cameron, Mace, and Stephen A. Smith, right? You said you felt like they were hating on black athletes. What is the real issue?
You know, I've been watching sports for a while. You know, I'm a big-time sports fanatic coming from Boston. You know, I love all my Red Sox, Bruins, Celtics, of course, Patriots, right? And I love sports in general, man. You know, so I got to watch ESPN in its early stages. And man, and I'm drawing a blank, but what was my man? There was a guy there that Stuart Scott. Stuart Scott had a way of bigging up and giving people flowers, athletes, especially black athletes. We'll start with Stephen A. first. Stephen A. Smith has turned his platform into really from reporting on the sports players to really everything really is about him. I don't like the way he handled the whole WNBA situation and how he kind of just looks like he's always negative when it comes to the black female athletes. But when it comes to Caitlin Clark, he praises the hell out of her. I noticed when he, you know, I just noticed, you know, how LeBron and Shaq and, you know, people are really kind of like, the way Stephen A. Smith does it, it's like, Stephen A. Smith comes across like he's down with the culture all of a sudden, like the hip hop culture. And that couldn't be furthest from the truth, you know. Guys like him and Shannon Sharpe, you know, they, you know, it's the thing now to have a podcast and report on the culture. You know, they see it's lucrative. And I understand they want to be a part of it and exploit it. But the reality is neither one of them were really down with hip hop culture like that. You know, I don't know where Stephen A. Smith came from, but you could just look at the way his whole swag is and everything, that he just doesn't really even, you could tell he wasn't with hip hop and the way he grew up. You could tell he always kind of shunned the street side of life, you know, knowing that that's where a lot of the black people, the struggle come from is the streets. That's always where I represented. Same thing with, you know, Shannon Sharpe. You know, Shannon Sharpe plays like he's you know, he interviews people from the culture, but he couldn't be furthest from the culture as far as a person. You know, when you look at him, because I guess the Cat Williams interview, people mistaken that Shannon Sharpe was really in the culture, but he's not. You know, I seen an interview with him and Tony Ayo, and you know, he referred to Ja Rule as low-hanging fruit. And I just, right then and there, and just, you know, I remember when Jim Jones was on talking about Nas, he couldn't even name a Nas song. You know, Shannon Sharpe, like, grew up on a farm, went to college, and then went to the NFL. He didn't have too much time to be involved with hip-hop. So, you know, just watching these guys report on people and then talk bad about people, especially legends like Ja Rule or anybody in the WNBA. You know, these are people that actually accomplish things. And my thing is to give them their flowers. And this is where the Cam situation comes up. Now, Cam is in the hip-hop culture. You know, I would consider Cam a legend from all the stuff that he does. And I'm a fan of his music, Dipset, you know, Heatmakers, all that, right? When Cam first came out with his, you know, platform, I was like, this is dope. You know, the culture's gonna have their own kind of like, you know, ESPN type shit, you know. And it just seems like Cam is using the platform to instead of report on the athletes, but he seems like there's a pattern, you know, of them always saying something negative about the young black athletes or just, you know, in general. And I'm just like, you know, I seen him get into it with Shakur and Clarissa. And, you know, the thing with Adrian Bronner, I can understand, but, you know, the after effect of him, and how he handled it when he got off the show. And then now with Zion and how he compared Zion to selling somebody crack and Zion losing weight. And I'm saying to myself, you know, this isn't what like, I don't think this is what the culture wants. Now, I know there's an audience that loves that type of goofy shit, you know, tearing people down and shitting on people, right? But when I look at these young black athletes, especially these three, I mean, these three came from, I mean, we know how Clarissa Shields came up, if you've seen the movie, and big up to the champion, Clarissa Shields. Zion came up with his aunt, not even with his parents. You know, Shakur had a rough, you know, usually a lot of these, you know, young black athletes are coming up from struggle and rough, man. And it's like, the thing is they're all champions and they're all amazing athletes. It's not like they're just, you know, we talking champions now. And with Zion, he's just an amazing basketball player, went to Duke and shined. Because of injuries, he had to lose weight because of injuries, and it's frustrating. But that doesn't take away who he is and his amazing abilities. And I just think when Cam and them get on, I think he plays to an audience. You know, there's an audience out there that people think that is a huge audience, and to me, that audience is like that's the low-hanging fruit, is when you're playing to an audience that just wants to hear you talk negative, cause problems, start trouble, talk shit. Like, I'm just not with that. And, you know, it was just constructive criticism. You know what I'm saying? When I said it just like it now. I just think that they should be giving young black athletes their flowers. That's all. You know what I mean? That wasn't nothing against him. You know what I'm saying? That wasn't nothing. I'm just saying the platform. So, and I still stand on it. I think there's enough negativity. And I think also when they find out that when you start bigging up the athletes, there's a bigger audience for that. You know, again, a lot of times in hip hop, we just like to see the comments and everything. And a lot of people get turned down by the comments and get piped up by the comments. But it's, they don't understand that when you talk with intelligence and really give it up to people, you're going to get a bigger audience. They just think that when they talk shit about somebody and people and they get comments and they get reactions and they think that that's what makes the algorithm pop, and I'm just not with that. That's all. You know what I'm saying? That's just my opinion. You know what I'm saying?
Yo, Zeno, so a lot of people feel like Cameron and Mace, the reason why they love they show so much is because they feel they keep it real no matter how, whatever they're talking about, right? Do you really think that they're going out of their way to hate on black athletes just for the views, or do you think they're saying how they really feel?
I'm just saying, again, if you're gonna be a show reporting on that, I mean, then I mean, you would want to. I mean, you would want to talk sports, and you would want to, you don't want to seem like a hater, because, at the end of the day, everybody they're talking about athletic-wise, and I say the same for Stephen A. Smith. Denzel Washington made a statement about Stephen A. Smith, said like, yeah, it's easy for them to sit in their chairs and they can't do shit. And it's that, I mean, come on. Zion Williamson would dunk all over Cam in the game. I'm sure if Cam got in the boxing ring with Shakur or Clarissa, I'm sure. So it's like, how much can you say as a person? How much can you dog? To me, you should balance it. I would think that they're also seeing their accomplishments when they're going at them. And I understand, niggas are from the block in the streets and all the tough guy shit and all that. I don't see none of that. I think that that's what the problem is with a lot of these guys and their egos, that they're crossing over that street shit. And again, when you get let's say you get 2,000 comments, to them, that's a lot. To anybody, that's a lot. And there's 8 billion people on this earth. You know what I'm saying? Like, stop thinking that because you say some crazy shit or some controversial shit or some shit just to get people to kind of get their reaction, I just think that I'm just not with that type of platform to use it to tear each other down and to always talk shit about people. That's just me. You know what I'm saying? That's just my opinion. We all have opinions. They got opinions on other people. That's my opinion on them and they show.
What's up? This is Cam Capone. We got more content like this coming soon, so hit that like button, subscribe, and stay locked in to Cam Capone News.